Hua Hin doesn't look like a retirement hotspot, but retirees keep choosing it. If you're thinking about retiring in Thailand, you've probably done the research, and somewhere along the way, Hua Hin keeps appearing in the background. But it doesn't stand out at first. It's not flashy, no nightlife, no international buzz, no mountain lifestyle. On paper, it almost looks too quiet, too simple, almost underwhelming. And that's exactly where most people misjudge it. Because the people who actually move to Hua Hin and stay are seeing something different. And that raises a much bigger question. What is it about this place that makes people settle here long term? When you look at where Western retirees actually settle in Thailand, a clear pattern emerges. Different places attract different lifestyles. Pattaya is energy and nightlife, Chiang Mai is cost and inland living, Phuket is beach lifestyle with higher intensity and cost. Hua Hin sits in a different category. It's built for long-term living, not short-term excitement. Calm, residential and easy to live in day after day. You also tend to notice a different mix of people here. Long-term European retirees, golfers, Thai families from Bangkok, couples looking for a quieter coastal lifestyle. And there's one practical advantage that often gets overlooked. Bangkok is only about 3 to 3.5 hours away. That means access to major hospitals, international flights, embassies and specialist services is still realistic without living in a major city. Put it all together, coastal living, calm pace, solid infrastructure and close access to Bangkok, and you start to understand why Hua Hin keeps appearing on retirement shortlists. Not because it's exciting, but because it works. And that's why people who move here tend to stay. So what does it feel like when you actually arrive? The first thing you notice is the pace. It's calm, not empty, not boring, just slow in a natural way. And within a few days, something shifts. You slow down without trying. The pressure just drops. Compared to Bangkok or Pattaya, the intensity simply isn't there. But life here is still happening. Markets are busy, cafes are open, people are moving around. It just isn't chaotic. That balance is what people end up valuing most over time. Another thing people notice is that it feels orderly. Not luxury resort polished, just maintained and lived in. Clean, structured, easy to navigate, it feels settled. In terms of safety, Hua Hin has a strong reputation. Petty crime exists like anywhere, but serious issues involving expats are rare. And that changes how comfortable daily life feels, especially for solo retirees or couples. Most people feel at ease walking around, even in the evenings. Now, a practical point that catches people out, it is definitely not fully walkable. If you live central or near the beach, you can walk to the cafes, restaurants and some shopping. But once you move outside that core area, transport becomes part of daily life here. That's something people often underestimate. The demographic mix is balanced. You have UK, European, Australians, a mix of retirees from around the world. But it still feels Thai. It hasn't turned into an expat-only bubble yet. Thai families from Bangkok also visit regularly, which keeps it grounded. Now the key question is it too quiet? And this really comes down to your personality. If you need constant stimulation, nightlife or things happening every day, you may find it too slow, especially in the evenings or during low season. But if you've reached a point where peace feels valuable rather than boring, it can feel almost perfect. Because it isn't trying to entertain you every day. It gives you space. And for the right person, that's exactly what retirement should feel like. Now let's talk about money. because this is where a lot of Thailand advice gets completely unrealistic in both directions. You'll hear people say they can live here on $800 a month. Others spend $4,000 and wonder how it happened. The truth is simple. It comes down to your lifestyle, not the location. Thailand doesn't automatically make expensive habits cheap. Imported food, Western dining, private healthcare, constant aircon and travel, it all adds up. Live locally and simply, and the value changes completely. So let's break it down realistically. At the lower end, around $1,500 a month, you're looking at a simple but comfortable life here. Modest condo, mostly local food, basic transport, nothing flashy but stable. Then there's the middle zone, around $2,000 a month for a single retiree, or $3,000 for a couple. This is where most long-term retirees end up. Not budget living, but not luxury either. A good condo, regular eating out, gym, cafes, and a normal social life. This is where Hua Hin starts to feel very balanced. And obviously at the higher end, maybe $4,000 a month and above, you're into a very fully flexible life here. Villas, private pools, premium dining, healthcare choices, and travel without restriction. The real question isn't can you afford it? It's which version of life do you want here? Now the important part is understanding where the money goes. Rent is the biggest factor. A basic condo might set you back 8,000 to 12,000 baht a month. A modern one bedroom is usually 15,000 to 25,000 baht a month. Larger or nicer properties go higher, and villas can range anything from 30,000 baht a month to 80,000 baht depending on the location. Then there are the hidden costs people underestimate. Air conditioning is a big one. Realistically, that can add up to maybe 3,000 to 5,000 baht a month or more, depending on what accommodation you've got. Groceries depend on lifestyle, local markets are cheap, but Western products add up fast. Eating out is still very good value, especially for Thai food, while Western restaurants are closer to Western pricing, but still reasonable. Transport varies a lot depending on whether you use taxis, own a car, or live centrally. And healthcare is generally affordable for routine needs, but insurance is the key cost many people underestimate. So the honest summary is this. Hua Hin is not the cheapest place in Thailand, and it's not trying to be. You're paying for stability, cleanliness, infrastructure, and lifestyle quality. Compared to retirement in the West, it still offers strong value. Not cheap, but very good value for the life you get. Now this section really matters, because choosing the wrong area in Hua Hin can completely change your experience of retirement. Two people can both say they live in Hua Hin, but live very different lives. One walks to cafes and the beach every morning. The other drives every time they leave the house. So really you're choosing between three lifestyles. Walkable convenience, quiet beach living, or space and villa life. Once you understand that, everything becomes much clearer. Central Hua Hin is the most convenient area. If you want to walk to cafes, restaurants, markets, shopping, and the beach, this is where you want to be. There's more energy here, more activity, and more daily convenience. It also works well if mobility becomes a concern later in life. The trade-offs, it's noisier, there's more traffic, and a more tourist-orientated feel in some parts. So it suits people who value convenience over silence. Khao Takiab is one of the most balanced areas. You still get beach access, but the atmosphere is noticeably quieter than central Hua Hin. It feels more residential, more relaxed, and more local in feel. It suits couples especially well who want peace without feeling isolated. The downside is that you'll likely need transport to get into town regularly. This next area is completely different, Gnthailandvisa. It sits inland, slightly elevated, away from the coast. You're not walking anywhere here. A car is absolutely essential. But in return, you get space, privacy, larger homes, and a much quieter environment. It suits people prioritizing villa living, views, and a more private lifestyle. And the last place is Koh Tao, further south and much quieter. This is for people who want space, greenery, and a slower pace of life. It feels less developed and more rural in character. But that comes with trade-offs, fewer amenities and more reliance on transport again. It's peaceful but less convenient. So a simple rule to follow: if you hate driving, choose central Hua Hin. If you want balance, choose Koh Tao, it's hard to beat. If you want space and privacy, look at Gnthailandvisa or Koh Tao. And honestly, the best question you can ask here is this: how often do I want to get in a car? That one question eliminates most wrong choices immediately. Now let's talk about housing, because this is one of the biggest areas where retirees in Hua Hin make expensive mistakes. The lifestyle here makes it very easy to fall in love quickly. The beach, the weather, the relaxed pace of life, and suddenly people start thinking about buying. Be careful here. Most retirees should rent first, at least for the first year, because there's a big difference between visiting somewhere and actually living there day to day. Now, the main housing options are fairly simple. For most foreign retirees, condos are the easiest and most practical choice. They're low maintenance, secure, and simple to manage. You don't deal with gardens, pools, or repairs. Just lock up and go if you want to travel. They're also the simplest legally. Foreigners can own condos under the foreign quota system. Then you have villas and houses. This is where the lifestyle changes significantly. More space, more privacy, gardens, sometimes private pools. And for many people, this feels like the dream retirement, especially couples or pet owners. But the trade-offs are clear. More maintenance, more responsibility, and more things that can go wrong. And there's also the legal layer here that people often underestimate. Foreigners cannot directly own land in Thailand. That means house ownership involves lease structures or company setups, which adds complexity and a potential risk. This is not something to rush into or rely on informal advice for. Proper legal guidance is essential. Now, gated communities are another popular option in Hua Hin. They offer security, shared facilities, and often a sense of community. For many retirees, that combination is attractive, but quality varies a lot. Some developments are well run and well maintained. Others look great at the start, but don't age well. So due diligence matters. Visit in person, talk to residents, and don't rely on brochures. And that brings us back to the key decision: renting versus buying. And I'll be direct here. I would not rush into buying in Thailand, especially in Hua Hin. I've seen people fall in love on a short visit, buy quickly, and later realise they chose the wrong area or property. Because holiday experience and real life experience are completely different things. So the safer approach is simple. Rent first, learn about the town, test different areas, live through different seasons, understand your own routine, and then make a decision. The people who get this right are usually the ones who don't rush it. They give themselves time, and that patience often saves them from expensive mistakes. Now let's talk about healthcare in the area. For many people over 50, this becomes the deciding factor. Not lifestyle, not cost, healthcare. Because at some point, retirement stops being about how things feel today and starts being about what happens when you actually need the system. The good news is Hua Hin has solid healthcare for its size. The main private hospital is Bangkok Hospital Hua Hin. It's modern, efficient, English speaking and well set up for expats. For everyday care, checkups, scans, minor procedures, it works very well. And one thing most retirees notice immediately is the speed. Less waiting, less bureaucracy, more direct access to doctors. That alone changes how healthcare feels compared to many Western systems. Costs are also significantly lower than private healthcare in places like the UK, US or Australia. A specialist visit is usually 1,500 to 3,000 baht. Diagnostics are affordable and dental care is especially good value. So for routine healthcare, Hua Hin performs well. For advanced cancer treatments or major specialist inventions, Bangkok is where the highest level of care is concentrated. Hospitals like Bumrungrad and others operate at a world-class level. And that leads to the real question most people avoid asking. What level of healthcare are you realistically going to need? If you're healthy in your late 50s or early 60s, Hua Hin is likely more than enough for day-to-day living. But if you already have serious ongoing conditions, heart disease, cancer history, you need to think more carefully about proximity to Bangkok level care. Because 3 hours on a map is one thing, 3 hours in an emergency is something else entirely. Now let's talk about the insurance. I'll be direct here. Retiring in Thailand without health insurance or without a serious financial backup plan is a major risk. Routine care is affordable, major care is not. And when something serious happens, costs escalate quickly. A typical expat health insurance plan at around age 60 might range something from $1,000 to $2,000 US per year, depending on the coverage. Older ages or pre-existing conditions can push that higher. But this is not an area to cut corners. This is the safety net that protects everything else. So if I had to summarize healthcare in Hua Hin in one line, it works very well for normal retirement life. But if you need to be honest about future risk, not just current health, that honestly matters more than optimism. Let me paint a realistic picture of daily life in Hua Hin. Because beyond visas, costs and housing, this is what actually matters. What does a normal retirement day feel like? Not a holiday, not a weekend, just a regular day. And this is where people either connect with Hua Hin or realize it's not for them. Mornings are the best part. You wake up early without trying. The light, heat and rhythm naturally shifts your routine. By 7 or 8 a.m, the day already feels alive. Coffee, balcony, maybe a walk, no rush. Many retirees head to the beach, cooler air, soft light, calm movement. And after a while, faces become familiar and it starts to feel like home, not a visit. Late morning is simple routine, maybe gym, golf, errands, cafes. Places like Market Village or Blueport handle most daily needs. And then comes the reality check. Not every day feels special. Some days are just normal life. Shopping, laundry, appointments, staying in. And that matters because retirement here is still ordinary life. Lunch is flexible, cheap Thai food, cafes or home days. Nothing structured. Then the heat takes over. Between 2 and 4 p.m, life slows right down. Air conditioning, rest, indoor time. You adapt to the climate, not the other way round. Late afternoon changes everything. Around 5 p.m, the town comes alive again. The beach, the air, the movement, everything softens. Evenings are the rhythm most retirees settle into. Dinner becomes the main event. Familiar restaurants, quiet routines, relaxed conversations. And here's the truth. Hua Hin's evenings are not always exciting. And that's exactly the point. If you need nightlife or constant stimulation, you'll feel the gap. But if you value quiet routines and ease, this is where Hua Hin works. Because it's not about excitement, it's about livable simplicity. And for the right person, that's exactly what retirement should feel like. Now let's talk about transport. And the simplest way to frame this one question: do you need a car in Hua Hin? The honest answer is, it depends heavily on where you live. And that's the key point. Transport isn't separate from lifestyle here. It's built into location choice. If you live in central Hua Hin or near the beach, you can actually manage quite well without a car. Restaurants, cafes, shops, beach access, a lot becomes walkable. But there's a reality most people underestimate. 20 minutes walking in Thai heat is not the same as 20 minutes in Europe. That changes everything. Once you move into outer areas like Hin Lek Phai or Koh Tao, transport becomes essential. And this is where some retirees get caught out. They choose space and quiet, then realise every small errand requires a drive. If you don't want to own a car here, Grab works well here. Reliable, simple and air conditioned. For central living, it's often enough. There are also Songtaos, the shared pickup trucks. Very cheap, very local, but informal and route based. Some people use them regularly, others never do. Motorbikes are common, but I'd be cautious here for retirement use. Thai roads carry real risks, and reaction time changes with age. If you're experienced, that's your choice, but it shouldn't be romanticised. For many retirees, a small car becomes the most practical option. Something like a Toyota or Honda makes everyday life much easier. Groceries, hospital visits, trips into town, even day trips to Bangkok, everything becomes simpler. And driving here is generally manageable. It's not Bangkok level chaos, but the main roads can get busy at times. Which brings us to one of Hua Hin's biggest advantages: access to Bangkok. You're around 3 to 3.5 hours away by road. There are buses, trains and private transfers, so getting there for hospitals, flights or appointments is straightforward. So the simple summary is this: if you live centrally, you can live comfortably without a car. If you live outside the centre, a car becomes increasingly important. Now let's talk about the weather. And if you struggle with heat, this section really matters. Because a lot of people arrive in Thailand expecting tropical warmth. Then April arrives and reality changes that view very quickly. Hua Hin is proper hot. Most of the year it sits between 26 and 35 degrees Celsius. And there is no real winter like people are used to in Europe. The cool season runs roughly November to February. And in Thai terms, this is as good as it gets. Blue skies, lower humidity, sea breezes, and comfortable evening temperatures of around 22 degrees on average. This is when Hua Hin feels at its absolute best. Then comes the hot season, March through June, which can be intense. Temperatures regularly hit 35 degrees and above, and humidity make it feel even stronger. This is where daily life changes. You don't fight the climate, you adjust to it. Early mornings, indoor afternoons, slower pace. And not everyone adapts equally well. Some people thrive in it, others never fully enjoy it. Then there's the rainy season. usually June to about October. But it's not the constant downpour people imagine. More often it's heavy rain for an hour, then clear blue skies. Life continues. Overall, Hua Hin has a more stable coastal climate than many other Thai beach destinations, with less unpredictable disruptions. So the simple truth is this: hot for most of the year, very hot for a few months, but still one of the more manageable beach climates in Thailand. Now I want to talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough when retiring abroad: social life. And I want to be very direct about this. Yes, Hua Hin has an active expat community. Golf groups, clubs, expat events. The infrastructure is there. But here's the reality. Moving to Thailand does not automatically solve loneliness. It doesn't automatically create friendships or belonging. That part has to be built. And this is where expectations often don't match reality, because proximity to other expats is not the same as connection. I've met people with a perfect setup, great condo, good budget, ideal location, and they still feel isolated. Not because Hua Hin is lacking socially, but because community still requires effort. You have to show up, join things, accept invitations, be part of routines. It doesn't happen passively. For couples, this is usually easier. You already arrive with a built-in connection, and social life tends to build more naturally. For singles, especially solo retirees, it requires more intention. Now, one important factor here is the age profile. The expat community in Hua Hin is mostly 50s, 60s and 70s. For some people that's ideal. For others wanting a more energetic or mixed age environment, it can feel limited. And here's something many people don't expect. The first few months often feel great. Everything is new, exciting, and social momentum is high. But after 6 to 12 months, routines set in. And that's when reality becomes clear. Ordinary life anywhere still requires real human connection. And if I had to summarize it simply, there is community in Hua Hin, but you have to participate in it. Now let's talk about nightlife and evenings in Hua Hin. Let me be direct. If you need a busy nightlife scene every night, Hua Hin will feel limited. This is not Pattaya or Patong. There's no walking street, no constant late night energy, and no endless rotation of bars. That said, there's still an evening scene here. You'll find relaxed bars, a few sports bars, some live music venues, and a handful of quieter wine bars. It's social, just not chaotic. But for most retirees, evenings here are not built around nightlife. They're built around food. Hua Hin has a strong restaurant scene for its size. Thai, seafood, European, Japanese, and more. And eating out becomes the main evening routine. Dinner is the social anchor, not a prelude to a night out. So the real question isn't, is there nightlife? It's this: do you want evenings that are active and unpredictable, or calm and predictable? Because Hua Hin is firmly in the second category. And for some people, that's exactly the point. So what actually makes Hua Hin stand out? Why do people choose it over more famous places like Phuket or Pattaya? The biggest advantage is simple. Hua Hin is sustainable. And that matters more than most people realize. Some places are exciting for a holiday. But retirement isn't a holiday. It's long-term life. And that completely changes how you judge your location. Yes, the beach lifestyle plays a role. Morning walks, sea air, open spaces. It has a positive effect, especially for people coming out of high-pressure working lives. But the real difference is the pace. Hua Hin doesn't constantly demand your attention. It gives you space. And many people only realize how valuable that is once they experience it day to day. There's also a practical advantage: safety and stability. For most retirees, feeling comfortable walking around, living day to day, and simply existing without stress becomes more important than excitement. Hua Hin performs well here. Another key factor is the location. Bangkok is only a few hours away. That means access to major hospitals, international flights, specialist care, and everything a smaller town doesn't offer is still within reach. You get distance without isolation, and that changes how secure life feels. And finally, for certain lifestyles, especially golfers, Hua Hin is extremely well positioned. High quality golf courses, strong maintenance, and significantly better value than many Western countries. So when you put it all together, the advantage isn't one single thing, it's the combination. A place that is calm, practical, and realistic for long-term living, not just short visits. And that's why Hua Hin keeps showing up on retirement shortlists. Not because it's the most exciting place in Thailand, but because it's one of the few that actually works as a long-term home. Now let's talk about the hidden downsides. And this section matters because every location has its trade-offs, and Hua Hin is no exception. So let's be direct about this. The first downside is boredom. Not for everyone, but for enough people that it needs to be said. Hua Hin can become repetitive over time. Same routines, same cafes, same restaurants, same daily patterns. For some people that feels peaceful. For others it starts to feel limiting. And the tricky part is this. Peace and boredom can feel very similar once the novelty wears off. If you need constant change, stimulation or variety, this is something to think about carefully. Now the second downside is the heat, and this is often underestimated. March to May can be extremely hot, not just warm, genuinely intense daytime heat that shapes your entire routine. You adapt around it. Early mornings, indoor afternoons, heavy use of air conditioning. For some people that's fine. For others, especially with health conditions, it can become a real limiting factor. Next is language. You can live in Hua Hin with English in most daily situations, restaurants, hospitals, shops, but deeper integration is different. Without Thai, you stay slightly on the outside of local life. Not a major problem for everyone, but it does create distance over time. Then there's mobility. This becomes more important the older you get. Areas outside central Hua Hin can feel ideal today, but we're thinking about how life looks like if driving becomes difficult in 10 to 15 years. The key question is this: can your future self still live comfortably here? Not just your current self. And finally, the cost expectations. Hua Hin offers strong value, but it is definitely not the ultra budget Thailand. It sits in a more comfortable, stable tier. If budgets are tight, other locations may stretch further. And that's important to be honest about, because Hua Hin isn't trying to be the cheapest option. It's trying to be a sustainable one. And I'll leave you with this. No place stays new forever. The beach becomes normal, the restaurants become routine, the novelty fades. So the real question isn't whether Hua Hin feels exciting. It's whether it still feels right when life becomes normal. Now let's talk about the biggest mistakes retirees make in Thailand. And I've seen these patterns repeat again and again. Some are expensive, some are stressful, all are avoidable. The first mistake is moving too fast. People come for a holiday, fall in love with the lifestyle, and start planning a permanent move within months. But holiday Thailand and real life Thailand are very different. You only understand this difference when you live through ordinary days, routines, errands, heat, bills, quiet weekends. That's why rushing is a mistake. You need time on the ground, not a short visit, real time. Rent first, live normally, then decide. The second mistake is buying property too early. Emotion drives a lot of decisions here. A nice view, a nice villa, a good sales pitch. And people commit before they truly understand the area or long-term reality. Renting gives you flexibility, and flexibility is protection when moving countries. The third mistake is misunderstanding what retirement actually is. People expect location to solve everything, but retirement is still something you build. Without structure, purpose or routine, even a beautiful place can feel empty. Thailand doesn't create a retirement for you. It just becomes the setting. The fourth mistake is choosing the wrong area. This matters more than most people realize. A place can feel perfect on holiday, but inconvenient in daily life. Distance, transport and access matter far more long-term than views or atmosphere. The key question is simple. Will this still work for me at 75? Now health insurance. This is a non-negotiable in my eyes. Do not retire in Thailand without proper coverage. A serious medical event can be financially devastating without it. This is not an area to take risks. And finally, community. This is the quiet mistake. People settle in, get comfortable, stay in their routines, and slowly become isolated. Not because there's no community, but because they don't actively engage with it. In Hua Hin, like anywhere else, connection has to be built. And if I had to summarize the biggest retirement mistake in one line, it would be this. Don't just plan the move. Plan the life you're moving into. Now let's talk about who should not retire in Hua Hin. And I think this matters just as much as everything we've discussed so far. Because not every retirement destination suits every retiree. And being honest about wrong fit can save you years of frustration. So let me be very clear. If you need nightlife, Hua Hin is probably not for you. If you want bars every night, walking streets, late night entertainment, constant energy year round, you'll likely feel underwhelmed here. In that case, places like Pattaya will probably suit you far better. And there's nothing wrong with that. Different personalities need different environments. Next, if your priority is the absolute cheapest version of Thailand, Hua Hin may not be ideal. It offers good value, very good value actually, but it isn't bargain basement Thailand. If your budget is tight and stretching every baht matters, places like Chiang Mai in the north or parts of Isan or smaller provincial towns may suit you better financially. Now heat. This one matters more than people admit. If you genuinely struggle with hot climates and you're not willing to adapt your daily routine around the weather, Hua Hin will wear you down. Simple as that. The heat is manageable for many people, but not everyone, and that's okay. In that case, maybe northern Thailand may suit you better for at least part of the year. Now let's talk about stimulation, because this is a big one. If you need major city energy, constant variety, large social circles, frequent cultural events, new experiences every week, Hua Hin may feel very limiting. That doesn't mean it's bad, it just means it's not built for that. Places like Bangkok naturally offer much more. But I think the biggest filter is personality. And this is the one people should really think about. If you get restless easily, if silence makes you uncomfortable, if routine feels suffocating, if you constantly need novelty to feel alive, Hua Hin may frustrate you within a year. Because the truth is, Hua Hin rewards a certain mindset. It rewards people who appreciate routines, people who value peace, people who no longer need constant stimulation to feel fulfilled. And I think that's the deepest truth about Hua Hin. This town doesn't sell excitement. It offers something quieter, stability, calm and ease. And if I had to summarize who should avoid Hua Hin in one sentence, it would be this. If you're still chasing excitement, Hua Hin may feel too slow. If you're ready for peace, it may feel almost perfect. So who actually thrives in Hua Hin? The honest answer is far fewer people than expected. But for the right type of person, it can be one of the best retirement spots in Thailand. Let's break it down simply. First, couples. I think Hua Hin works extremely well for couples because it naturally supports shared routine life. It's calm, it's safe, it's predictable in a good way. There's space to build a life together without constant disruption. For many couples, that stability becomes the foundation of a very good retirement. Second, people in their late 50s and above who are genuinely ready for a slower pace. And this is important. There's a difference between slowing down and actually wanting a slower life. Some people fight it, others are ready for it. Those who are ready, who no longer need constant stimulation or noise, tend to settle here very well. Third is the health-focused retirees. Hua Hin makes it easier to live better without trying too hard. Walking, swimming, cycling, golf, beach time, fresh food, outdoor living. Good habits become the default here, not something you have to force. Fourth is independent personalities. This is a big one. Hua Hin doesn't entertain you. It doesn't fill your day for you. You need to be comfortable structuring your own life. If you're internally steady, you'll thrive. If you need constant stimulation, it can feel too quiet. And fifth, people who value routine. Not boring routine, but stable, meaningful rhythm. Wake up, coffee, walk, lunch somewhere familiar, dinner, rest, repeat. Not because life is dull, but because it feels right. That's where Hua Hin works best. People who are already internally settled tend to do very well here. So what's the final verdict? Hua Hin isn't a perfect place, nothing is. But it scores roughly, for cost of living, 7 out of 10. Healthcare, 8 out of 10. Lifestyle, 9 out of 10. Walkability, 6 out of 10. Peace and environment, 9 out of 10. Overall, I give it an 8 out of 10. But that number changes depending on the person. For the wrong person, it's a 5. For the right person, it's a 10. And that's the real point. A good retirement isn't about finding the best place. It's about finding the place that fits you. Your health, your budget, your personality, your temperament. Because retirement isn't a holiday, it's life. And the real question is not where looks best. It's where will I still be happy when the novelty wears off? Hua Hin isn't exciting. It isn't the cheapest. It isn't the most energetic. But for the right type of person, it fits. And in retirement, fit matters more than anything else. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Please do me a massive favor and hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel, helps to push these videos to people like yourselves who want to retire in Hua Hin. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one, guys.